The state of Virginia has a fascinating history, and part of the history has to do with wine. Today I'd like to talk to you about the history of grapes and wine, different grape varieties, and two of my favorite wineries, and what they have to offer. Hello, my name is Jamie Kuzio. Would you pay $275,000 for a bottle of wine? The most expensive wines in the world states that is what a bottle of 1907 Head 6 Champagne, lost at sea in 1916, and discovered and found in 1997, is currently selling for at the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow. Today I'm going to talk to you about grapes and wines of Virginia, a little bit about the history, grape varieties, and two of my favorite wineries. Wines have a vast history throughout the world, and today I want to talk to you about the history of Virginia, grapes, and wine. The first settlers attempted to grow wine 4 centuries ago in hopes of becoming a major source of wine for the British Empire, as explained in the History of Winemaking Virginia. In 1619, a law was introduced and passed that new settlers had to plant 10 grapevines in hopes of growing grapes to produce wine, but it met with failure due to pest and disease. Tobacco became the new crop in Virginia, and British lost interest in the American winemaking endeavor. Thomas Jefferson was an avid grower of European grapes for 30 years, but never produced a bottle of wine at his Monticello vineyards. Also, George Washington for 11 years attempted it, and he failed also. It wasn't until the 1820s that grapes and wines became a reality by the Native Americans. You now have a history of wine, of how Virginia wine came to be. Now let's talk about some of the grape varieties in Virginia. VirginiaWine.org shares a review the Atlantic Journal-Constitutional, which stated Virginia is making Cabernet Franc and Viognier wines that are world beaters, and as cited in the Savoir magazine article in which critic Paul Lucas named 2 Viogniers in Virginia among the best. An article for GardenGuide.com, Heidi Braley shares there are fewer red grape varieties grown than white grape varieties in Virginia. This is due to the fact that red grapes need a longer and higher heat temperature than Virginia has to offer. But we still grow red grapes, and two of the more popular ones are Cabernet Franc and the Syrah, otherwise known as Shiraz. And we also grow Pinot Noirs, Burgundies, and a native Norton grape here in Virginia. White grapes include the Chardonnay, the Viognier, the Saval, the Gewürztraminer, and Vidal Blanc. And they love the Blue Ridge climate because it's got cooler temperatures. Braley also states there are 3 native grapes in Virginia that more than likely got their start hundreds of years ago and in other countries. And those grapes are the Niagara White, otherwise known as the White Concord, which is very sweet, the Norton Red, well known, makes great red wines, and the Muscat, which can be purple or red in color. It's very sweet, makes great dessert wines. We just talked about the different grape varieties in Virginia. Now let me fill you in some of my favorite wineries in the Northern Virginia area. As shared in Virginia Wine Today, Travel and Leisure magazine's Bruce Schoenfeld proclaimed Virginia one of the 5 up-and-coming wine regions, alongside Chile, Spain, Italy, and New Zealand, and should be on the must-visit list of any adventurous wine traveler. My wife Sheree and I consider ourselves to be adventurous wine travelers, and we have visited numerous wineries in Northern Virginia. Here are a couple of our favorites. Zucchini Winery in Purcellville, Virginia, which is in Loudoun County. On their story page, the winery shares that zucchini in Greek means duchess, and this is part of the owner's heritage, as the grandmother of the owner's name was Zucchini. They started their winery in 1983, planting their first vines in 1985. Their wines are full-bodied, very powerful, and they're handcrafted on their family farm. Our favorite white that they have is the 2013 Mandolin, which is very sweet and spicy. Their 2010 Dionysus has a nice earthiness with aromas of tobacco and coffee, and that's our favorite red. Another favorite winery of ours is the Cardamon Family Vineyards, owned by Chuck Cardamon. He is a chef, he's a retired Navy SEAL, he's a winemaker, and he's a good friend of ours. And his wines are he has a micro winery. They're handcrafted, 1 barrel at a time, 1 vintage at a time. When you visit and sample his wines, he pairs his wines up with his salsas. There's some off-the-wall combination salsas, but very good. Our favorite white that Chuck has is called the Matcha, made with the Saval grape, and it's very bright and pairs well with seafood. Our favorite red of his is called Victoria, and it's a combination of Cab Franc, Syrah, and Petit Verdot grapes, to which are all grown in his front yard. The grapes and wines of the beautiful state of Virginia have great variety and taste. Let's highlight what I've talked to you about today. Over the last few minutes, I've given you the history of grapes and failed winemaking attempts by our forefathers. I also gave you an insight on grapes native to Virginia and some other varieties that are grown here. But finally, I had the pleasure of introducing you to a couple of Mining Street's favorite wineries in Northern Virginia. Y'all come out over to my neck of the woods and explore what Virginia grapes have to offer. Thank you.